Hello, everyone. The Christmas jacket is out. Check this out. And the Christmas shirt. It's all very Christmassy here. I wanted to come on and just quickly talk you through my take on deadlines and the pressure of deadlines. And the reason this is I've literally just come from doing a input to a private company, a workshop to a private company, and we were talking about deadlines and how they leave stuff to the last minute, and actually how actually sometimes it's really not helpful. And I think especially, excuse me, I just moved my chair, especially in the police, where if we start thinking that the deadline we work, if you're someone that says I work better under pressure, then what's going to happen is you're going to leave stuff to the last minute. You could be reliant on that. So when there's work you're not particularly excited about doing, you'll leave it to the last minute. But of course, other stuff can come in that's really urgent, can't it? It can come in and then it can suddenly this thing that wasn't time bound or as time bound now is, and we've got lots of conflicting things and it can cause us sort of real stress and burnout. Now, you may be in a job where that's not a problem for you. It may not be a problem, but I know there's many roles where it does cause a problem because that demand is so high. So what I want to show you first of all is the Eisenhower matrix. Make sure you can see all that. And this, I first heard about this in the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And I thought, and that's written by Stephen Covey. And I thought that this was his, but actually, it turns out that it wasn't. It's called the Eisenhower Matrix from the President of the United States, and he talks about urgent and important things. So what we have is we have our urgent, we have our not urgent. I'll just put an I for important and not important. Now, just quickly, because this is relevant to the deadline. Oh, it's creeping down. It's creeping down. Look, this is relevant to the time to the deadline stuff we're going to be talking about. I think it's going to be easier to move my camera down rather than chase that. Is what we do is we have things that are not urgent and important. So this may be like jobs, reports, case files that right now they're not. They don't have to be done like yesterday. They don't have to be done like tomorrow. They're not really, really urgent, but they are important. So it could be reports, could be case files. And also, the other thing that is important but not necessarily urgent is your health, so your fitness. It's not just your work, it's all those things that if you tend to, and you do, it's going to cause you less problems later on. Now, we have this urgent and important. And what we do there is this is all the time bound stuff. This is like needs urgent attention. So it needs attention, otherwise something bad is going to happen. So this is where all the deadlines are, all these looming deadlines. Now, the thing is, we want to spend most of our focus in there because then when we do that, we have the capacity for the work that turns up here. Because what happens is a lot of this work isn't urgent. It's just important. But then we procrastinate, we put it off, and a lot of this comes from people who are telling themselves they work better under pressure. And then what they do is they leave it and leave it, and suddenly that case file is in here. That case file's moved across. But then you may have something else come in, an urgent job come in. You may have a prisoner in custody, which is urgent and time bound. And then suddenly your case file, your CPS deadline is then thrown out. And you've got these two competing things, and we can get really stressed. And this box just gets bigger. So if you are someone who believes you work better under pressure, you are going to be someone that is probably working from here a lot and probably very stressed. Now, the other boxes, which are quite relevant for time management, but not so much for this. I'll just go through them quickly. Urgent and not important. This is interruptions from people with stuff that really isn't that important. And when we say it's urgent, is because they make it sound like it's urgent. It's anything that makes a noise. Emails, Teams, phone calls, and you're constantly, if you're in here, you're constantly responding to things. The way to think about it is if you're in this box a lot of the time, the urgent and not important, you're the yes man. That's where I was. You're the one that is always volunteering for stuff. You're always being interrupted. You've got no boundaries at all. Here, if you're someone that believes that you work better under pressure and you're always working in this one, you're probably going to be labeled as the procrastinator because you're always leaving stuff. You're procrastinating and it's coming over here. If you live here, which is where we want to be, you're going to be the prioritizer. If you can, it's really terrible. You probably can't see that very well, but that says prioritizer. Now, this other box where we don't want to spend any of our time in work time, not urgent, not important, is scrolling, complaining. This is all the stuff that has nothing to do. It's not urgent and it's not important. It could be done later. Booking holidays at work. I mean, that could be there, couldn't it? If you've left at the last minute. But all that stuff that is, it's the distractions. So if you're spending a lot of time there, what we're going to label that as is the slacker. This is how he labels it in the 7 habits. So that is what's happening. Now, what I want to do is show you that if you're someone that says you work better under pressure, that you can change that. You don't have to work like that. If you choose to, you can. There's no problem with that. You get to decide what you do. But if you find that you're constantly under stress and pressure, and then other demands are coming in, and you're thinking, I could have done that work before, then this is going to help you. So remember that. I'm going to take that off. Now, what we want to do is realize it is not the deadline that makes us work better. It's not the deadline. And what we do to do that is we look at this thing called the model, which is a fantastic thing from the life coach school who I trained with. And this is, I will explain it now, even though you can't see that bottom letter. I'm going to change it now. What you have is your C is for your circumstance. T is for your thought, F is for your feeling, A is for your action, R is your result. So these are just the facts. So your circumstance, just the facts that you have. We have thoughts about our circumstance. So in this case, it might be the deadline or the case file you're doing. That's the facts. You'll have thoughts about it. Your thoughts create your feelings. Your feelings drive your action, and your actions give you a result. So let's just say you've had a case file to do and you've left it. You've had a deadline, whatever that deadline is, for like a month, and you've left it, and now you've got a few days to finish it. So the deadline is there. And when I asked someone earlier in the workshop, I said, how do you feel? And they said, I feel charged. And I said, why did you feel charged? And they said, because, and it's because they were thinking, I've got to remember this now. It wasn't, let's do this. Let's get on. Let's get on with this. It's time to work. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's something along the lines of, let's get to work. Now, it'd be very different for every person. So let's just use that as an example. We got to get to work, whatever it is. And then they felt charged. And then what they did is they removed distractions. They prioritized and they got to work. Now, our action gives us a result. Can you see that feeling of charge creates this action so we don't procrastinate? And then the result is we get the work done. But the only problem with this, and there's something I just want you to consider, is you get addicted to that high and the low. Because when you do that, when you work from this place, you go, oh, you got that fear of not getting it done, and then you've got that pressure, and then suddenly it's done, that relief, and we get addicted to those emotions. Now, of course, that feels quite good, doesn't it? I do it when I'm canoeing, balancing between that fear and then the endorphin release at the bottom of a waterfall. It's great for canoeing, but for my work is not so good because if I'm relying on that, then it could all pile up. And what I was showing them, and this is what I show people when they say they work better, it's under pressure and it's the deadline, is it's not the deadline that creates that feeling of charged. For me, it used to be focused. Because if it was the deadline that created that, everyone would feel that way. But now some people feel panic. I know I used to, if I had a deadline and I'd left it to the last minute, I'd feel panic. Why? Because I was having a different thought about it. Because this person was thinking, let's get to work. I'd tell you what it's on now. That was it. Their thought was, it's on now. Let me put that one in. It's just come to me. So they're thinking, it's on now. And they feel charged. It's actually because they're thinking that they feel charged. It's not the deadline that makes it, because like I said, someone else might feel panic. So it's not the deadline itself, the few days you've got left to do it, it's this thought. The brain is almost like the fear of not getting it done has taken over the fear of doing it. It's almost like a threshold. Well, shit, we got to do this now because there's a consequence. But the thing is, yes, it removes distractions and it gets the work done. But the other result you get is the work's done, but you start relying on that. And then you could be putting stuff off and procrastinating. And what I was showing them is you can create this at any time. You don't have to wait for that deadline to tick down. You could choose at any time to go, it's on now. Let's get to work. And you can actually train yourself and take responsibility that you are the one creating this feeling that is getting the work done. And then why would you want to do that? Well, because then you don't have to wait to the deadline. You can still choose to do it if you want, but you're not going to give the deadline the credit for your feeling and for your result. You're going to, because even if you leave it, you're going to know it's because that's what you choose to think in that moment. It's just very automatic for you. And then you can choose that if you've got work that you go, actually, this would be really good in that important and not urgent section, you could go, I could choose to do that now and I could clear the decks. So that's what I wanted to share with you. It's just, for me, it's a game changer. It was help you with procrastination and it will help you get your balance back and it'll stop you being reliant on that deadline, which is probably making the work pile up, and making you work from quite a stressed state. Let me know what you think in the comments and I'll see you later. Bye bye.